Under every major city's bright lights, there is a shadow. This shadow holds secrets and unsolved mysteries, like who built the Egyptian pyramids? Was the Big Bang the start of the world and civilization as we know it? Where is Jimmy Hoffa's body buried? And maybe the biggest mystery of all, the origin of the Miami-Cuban link.
I've been asked numerous times to make this video, but why? Does anybody really care about the history of some chain? The chain has become overly popular in the last couple of years on social media because of certain influencers. I'm not gonna name any names. Over 2 years ago, I was thinking of doing this topic and recording what I was finding. But what I was finding was not only confusing, but very repetitive, with inaccuracies or what I believe to be inaccuracies. And let me explain why. Some research suggests that it was started in the 1970s, that this whole movement in popularity really took off during that time frame. But who's to say that's accurate? One of the interesting pieces that I found in doing my research is it's a great possibility that this chain wasn't even started in Cuba. I mean, essentially it's called the Miami-Cuban link. So you would think that maybe this started in southern Florida with a bunch of Cubans that designed the link and named it the Miami-Cuban link based on geographic location and a bunch of Cubans putting their masterful craftsmanship to full advantage. I mean, the largest demographic and sales are probably in southern Florida since its popularity is still tremendous down there, more than anywhere else. Now it's funny that a lot of sources share the identical information, insisting that the popularity of this chain really started with pretty much the birth of hip-hop. And the birth of hip-hop is speculated to be August 11th, 1973, with a famous DJ by the name of DJ Kool Herc and his sister throwing an epic party in the Bronx. Now, a lot of those same sources kind of make it seem that it was DJ Kool Herc rocking this particular type of link, bringing that popularity since he was pretty much one of the stars and the pillars in the hip-hop community. Like, kind of made it seem like it was Kool Herc rocking this particular unusual type chain while he was mixing on the 1 and 2s and something that they've never seen before. However, when you look at any pictures of DJ Kool Herc, past or present, he's never really wearing gold jewelry. As a matter of fact, he rarely wears jewelry at all. He usually wears some sort of beaded necklace, something maybe with an African symbol or with a Jamaican symbol. I didn't see any pictures with Kool Herc and any kind of Cuban link. So were they referring to the people at the party? And how did the people at the party get this Cuban link? What were they doing for a living? There's a great possibility that they didn't go to school for pharmaceutical degrees, however, were pursuing that career. Now, truth be told, I probably share the same sentiment that you do is, who the hell cares? Nobody cares. There's probably no historical facts because nobody gives a shit about a piece of jewelry that's associated with maybe street pharmaceuticals, drug dealing, hip hop, nefarious acts, possible money laundering, allegedly. But it does pique my interest a little bit in the more research that I do and the more questions that I asked. Nobody fucking knows. Makes it kind of interesting, right? Slightly mysterious. Why did those same sources have almost the identical information about the origin of it being in the Bronx in 1970s? Like, why would the origin of it start in the Bronx? Yes, it's the birthplace of hip hop, but what's to say that before that time frame, it wasn't a thing? Is it because in that time it's one of the most historical times in hip hop and this chain is associated with hip hop, so they decided to marry those two stories together? I mean, if it started in Cuba, which we don't know, and started in southern Florida, why would the birth or popularity of it be in the Bronx? How did it get to the Bronx? Did the chain come along with a couple of bricks that were not concrete? So in being Carmen Sandiego's little nephew, I decided to ask some people in the industry and get their opinions and see if somebody can help us solve this mystery. Let's see. This is the first source. Personally, I don't like them. Looks suspicious already. But let's see if we can get any answers out of this particular expert in the field, shall we? Let's see what he knows.
So the question is, where do I think the original Miami Cuban link originated from, or who made the first Miami Cuban link? I don't know.
I don't know. When somebody goes to court and is asked to come on the stand, and they ask a direct question about the origin of something, and they automatically say, I don't know, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
You just sound guilty right now. You know the origins, you just don't want to share with the people. You don't want to give away your secret sauce. I'm feeling some type of way right now.
I think is, obviously it was made in Cuba.
Obviously, it was made in Cuba. How obvious is it? Do you have any proof of that information? You see, you know more than you're telling. Obviously. According to who? Who said that?
Bram, 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 bram. Here's a Miami Cuban. But I know that Miami made it poppin' in the 80s when all the, you know, the import and exporting of the pharmaceutical goods, you know, that type of era when everybody had the big chains just like this or bigger, where they had to hide their money and hide their stash just in case of anything, you know, they came into a little problem and they dug it underneath the earth. You know how that goes. I've seen movies, you know, and
I've seen the movies. I've seen the movies. When you get to a fight with your significant other and she questions you about something and you hit her with the, oh, what had happened was guilty. You know more.
And I heard about the cocaine cowboy, but to...
That look right there, guilty. Suspect. He knows more information, he just doesn't want to pass it along. This guy's not credible. Listen, buddy, I need more information. I need a source. Where do you get this info from? You just can't assume like the rest of the people on the internet.
So the only person I knew that was kind of old, you know, which was Ramon, that unfortunately passed away in 2020. I posted a video when he passed. He was I believe when he passed away 91 at the time. So I would always pick his brain when he was around. You know, we would always do late shifts and all this, and he would always tell me, you know, he always used to work in Cuba doing Miami Cubans since the 1970. I think it went back to 1971.
1971 and 1972. Now we're getting somewhere. I knew you were good for something. So you had a source that you worked closely with, who unfortunately has passed away, and was actually a jeweler who was making these particular links back in Cuba. So maybe, just maybe, the origin is from Cuba and not necessarily a Miami Cuban link, so maybe just a Cuban link. So if he, in the early 70s, was making links in Cuba, obviously the popularity became huge in southern Florida, so there's no way it could have started August 11th, 1970, whatever, because of DJ Kool Herc. So we've just debunked one thing based on a possibly unreliable source.
1972. So at least I know, you know, Miami Cubans were made in Cuba at least from the 70s. You know, I just don't know who, when it first started or not, but at least I know that went way back then. And then obviously Miami, you know, made the Miami Cuban popping in, you know, Miami, and then it went global. You know, as soon as Jay-Z says, you know, I'm wearing a Miami Cuban, explodes. So I don't know who made the first one. Maybe it was Christopher Columbus. I don't know. Maybe George Washington. Who knows? But that's my thoughts of it.
Christopher Columbus, George Washington. Motherfucker had wood teeth, fam. This fucking guy. Let's see what else we can get. Now, bringing it back to hip-hop and how that made Cuban links popular back in the day, the first time you ever saw a curb or a Cuban link, the flat profile one, was in Curtis Blow's first album in 1980? So maybe that helped popularize it and bring it to the forefront along with, you know, the street guys. So the only pieces of information that have been pretty much consistent is that popularity back in the 70s. Hip-hop definitely helped propel that popularity. It's still one of the most traditional, popular, highest selling links in the game. And I also feel that traditional style is not going to die anytime soon. There was a period in the 2000s where you saw all these random weirdo links that really don't exist at this point. The Cuban link isn't a fad. It will continue to be here. It's been around since the 70s, possibly before, still currently as popular as ever and will continue to be for generations to come. Quote me on that. So for those asking the age-old question, where'd the Miami Cuban link come from? Where did it start? And who really made it so popular? I guess it's just one of those unsolved mysteries.
What's fresh? Who's best? One of them's gonna pass the test. Cuban.
For the fly gun holder, money folder, Motorola start tack when it's time to call back. For the rough, rugged, and raw way, this nigga Jay, it's a game, but he don't play. Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's nonsense, you never get in. It's nonsense that you would think that you would.